We're on page 86. He had said the way, if you look at the world is made up of endless parts, and all these parts are there to accommodate the human being. The human being, he's the center of the universe. He refers to the human being as the speaking species. Whether it's the luminaries, the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, vegetation, the animals, all this is to provide whatever the needs are for the person. He says all this. He says the composite and structured nature. Nirim b'chulo b'mikzoso. Nirim b'chulo u'b'mikzoso. We see it in its totality and its parts. Uchshenai b'tzmochim u'balichayim. He says if you examine vegetation or the living creatures, they're made up of what? There's 4 elements. Right? You have the 4 elements. What are the 4 elements? Fire, wind, water, and earth. So it's a composite. Everything in existence is a composite. They're separate entities. How does anybody ever know it? Earth, well, if you see anything deteriorates, it goes back to dust. Right? What do you mean it's not made of earth? How does it become earth? When it deteriorates, it turns to earth. So evidently, its makeup is earth. Is earth? Okay, I'm not a scientist. Okay? Everything has a certain degree of, there's a heat element in something. There is. Look, you speak to, your thing is statistics, right? Okay, that's your expertise. Okay, we'll bring Sam Danishevsky one morning here. He'll explain it to us. Alan, you give him a lift. Okay. We can't replicate, take the 4 elements, combine them. Could you make a flower? He says, for some change one into the other, and some are incompatible with one another. It also depends on, the amounts and the conditions, how you combine them. Right? But if it naturally comes together, it's considered a combination which is mesukon, perfected, until its time is to come to an end. You have something, a vegetable, you pick it. So, in terms of its makeup, whatever its makeup is. But how it came about, it's perfect, as what it's supposed to be. But over time, it's going to wither and turn to nothing. Right? It deteriorates and turns to nothing. Okay. Bones, okay, because it's stubborn. But even bones can turn to dust. Over time, based on conditions, they found a number of years ago, maybe within the past 20 years, in Scandinavia, I think they have a certain place that they have bogs. And there was a climber who had fallen off a mountain, and he was in this bog, and he still had his pouch. He's one of these yodelers, in his clothing, and he's in this bog, and even the seeds in his the wheat kernels were still fresh. He was like preserved. His body was preserved. Didn't in any way deteriorate whatsoever. They took it out, and they left it exposed for maybe a day. Within a day, turned to dust. The whole body. the flesh, everything just turned, being exposed to the air. Over time, there were many shilas. In Europe, a Kohen's not permitted to go over a location where there remains of a human being. And there were certain places, there were cemeteries, and eventually they just put roads over those cemeteries. Do you know where anybody's buried, where anybody's not buried? And there was a certain location, it's a tshuva in the Sofer, also in Judah, and they went and they excavated those locations. They found that even the bones, it was like going back 1,000 years, 2,000 years, even the bones turned to dust. So the Sofer rules that if it already returns to dust, the coin's not affected. It's not called a grave anymore. A grave is only if it still contains the remains of a human being, like the skeleton. But if it reverts back to dust, although this dust, originally was the bones, it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Okay? וכבר חושבו קצת הפילוסופים כי הגלגלים והכוכבים והאישים העליונים הם מתולדות האש. Says the philosophers, they were of the opinion that the heavenly spheres, stars, Vayeishev elyonim, means like angels, they're a derivative of fire, probably because they shine. Well, the sun is fire. I mean, it's gases which create heat, which ultimately is fire. He makes his angels ruchos, spirits, b'sharsav eish lohet, and his attendants are flaming fire. So it's referring to the Malochim. Seemingly the Pasuk in Tehillim would support that position, that the heavenly beings, so-called, are fire. Their element is fire. Ve'inena toldo chabishis. There are only 4 elements. This is not a 5th element. Kasher choshev aristo. That was the position of Aristotle. Aristotle said there are 4 elements. There's nothing outside of the 4 elements. Meaning there's nothing. So what is an angel? The angel, or whatever exists, has to be within these 4 elements. Because if you don't believe in the spiritual has no relevance to the elements whatsoever. There's a famous word from the Kuzari. There are 4 levels of existence. There's domain, right? There's inanimate. Then there's tzomeach, is what grows, like vegetation. Then there's chai, there's the living, that's the animal, insect. And then there's medaber, the human being. There's the 4 levels of existence. And he says there's a 5th level. It's called Yisrael. Then above medaber, there's the Jew. That's a 5th level. We are the 5th level. Okay, so he's saying, within the context of physicality, Aristotle said everything's limited to 4. There's nothing outside of these 4 elements. So even angels, whatever you want to call them, these beings, they have to be, they're fire. Because it's within the 4 elements. Because nothing exists outside of 4. And not that of us who thought, and not that of Aristotle who thought that the heavens are made of a 5th element. The philosophers, they disagreed with Aristotle. He said there was a 5th. Correct. Even though it's interesting, the Rambam writes about Aristotle that he was able to come upon understanding that a prophet only knew because it was communicated through prophecy. That was the genius of Aristotle. I mean, factually, there's something outside of the 4. Like, even though Aristotle didn't believe in God, but he understood there are beings, whatever those beings are. Right? He was a pagan. Right? So I'm just saying, whatever those beings are, these forces, they go beyond the 4. Okay, to be continued.